everyone, and welcome to the next edition of the Holland Land Office Museum's Artifact Video Series. My name is Ryan Duffy, I'm the director of the museum, and this week we're going to talk about one of the other famous Ellicotts associated with the Holland Land Office, and that is the youngest of the brothers, Benjamin Ellicott. We've highlighted both Joseph and Andrew in the past, and I felt it was only appropriate to give Benjamin his own due, as he did quite a number of extraordinary things in his own right during his life. Now, Benjamin was born in 1765 in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and eventually moved with the Ellicott family when they moved into Maryland. Now, he followed in his older brother's footsteps, as he was also trained by Andrew in the art of surveying. He would then go on to assist Joseph in many of his major surveying accomplishments throughout their careers. Benjamin's first taste of surveying actually came in 1789 when he assisted his brothers in establishing the western boundary of New York State and creating the boundary between New York and Lower Canada. Also during this time that he was responsible for mapping out, along with Joseph and Andrew, the contours of the Niagara River and Niagara Falls. His next project was probably the grandest of the projects, as he was called upon by his older brother Andrew along with Joseph to assist in laying out the boundary of what would become Washington, D.C. and the larger District of Columbia. Their responsibility was to place markers around the district to lay out the boundary, and then also of the inner city itself. And this occurred between 1792 and 1794 that they were working on this major project. Benjamin was then called upon back up to New York State to do another major surveying line, and this was the Preemption Line, which was originally established with the Phelps-Gorham Purchase, but it needed to be redrawn as it was actually incorrect the first time. And this job was given to Benjamin to correct that. So the Preemption Line that we know today, which was the eastern boundary of Ontario County, as it was known then, was done by Benjamin Ellicott, and he actually corrected it to go on the correct side of Seneca Lake instead of where it was originally. After that work, he was then brought on by Joseph when he was hired to do the surveying for the Holland Land Purchase. And Benjamin was actually put in one of the three major surveying groups, and he was put in charge of that group. And his group was charged with surveying the eastern boundary of the Holland Land Purchase, which ran closest to the Genesee River. And Benjamin and Joseph conferred on how best to do this, and they actually started out by having Benjamin travel by boat up the Genesee River and eventually make it all the way to Lake Ontario and laying out the boundary along the way. However, that plan was soon scrapped, as Benjamin and his group could only make about 10 miles upriver before they found that it was too shallow to be navigable for their boats and their equipment. So backtracking somewhat, Benjamin actually had to hire a wagon team and make the 93-mile trip from the PA border to Lake Ontario. And this whole trip took about 5 months to complete, and as they went along, they put a marker every mile along that survey. Now, after the great survey was completed, Benjamin's time with the land company and his brother Joseph were not done, as he was actually brought on to be Joseph's essentially successor in surveying in case anything should happen to Joseph. This was actually put in place by Joseph himself, as when he was questioned about it by Theophilus Casanova, he said that I have the utmost faith that Benjamin could do the job just as I have. So Joseph held his younger brother in very high esteem and relied on him quite a bit throughout his time working for the Holland Land Company. Benjamin would also be a surveyor himself and a draftsman for the land company for a time, but by the turn of the 19th century, he would branch out into a different field, and that would be politics. His first foray was in 1803 when he was appointed to a judge position within Genesee County. This was something that he wasn't too keen of at first, but with the persuasion of Joseph that he should do it, he eventually took on the position for a few years. Now, Joseph wanted Benjamin in that position, as it would be a great benefit to the land company to have a judge right in Batavia who knew he could trust and would probably vote in his favor should any cases come up. But it would also save him much time from having to travel either to Buffalo or Rochester to get a judge to rule on a decision. Benjamin then expanded his political aspirations, as in the election of 1816, he was actually elected to the U.S. House of Representatives from New York and served a term in that position before unsuccessfully running again in 1820 to the House of Representatives. But he was a congressman from New York for a time. After his short foray into politics, Benjamin actually left active life and essentially retired to his property in Williamsville, as he had actually bought up most of what was the village of Williamsville today, and that was where he retired to essentially in 1826. However, retirement was short-lived for Benjamin, as he actually died the next year in December 1827 in Williamsville. He was initially buried in a graveyard in Williamsville, but essentially, however, due to the fact that the rest of the family was here in Batavia, he was dug up and reinterred in Batavia in the old Batavia Cemetery, where the rest of the Ellicott family was. But his final resting place has a somewhat interesting story, and one we're not entirely sure on the complete specifics of, but I feel it's worth sharing with you. Now, Benjamin was actually a twin. If you can see next to us, we have a portrait of his twin sister, Rachel. And Rachel actually lived about 25 years more than Benjamin did. However, when Rachel died in 1851, after her funeral, she was reinterred in a plot in the Batavia Cemetery near her other brother Joseph, and she was put with Benjamin. Now, from the readings, we're not sure if she was put in the same casket or the same grave, but they were buried together nonetheless. As they were joined in life, they were joined in death, and returned to the same mother that bore them in the beginning. So it's a very interesting sort of morbid tale, but about two twins that came back together in the end. But Benjamin, though maybe not as famous as his older brothers Andrew and Joseph, I think deserves a little bit of credit because he was definitely instrumental in the surveying of Western New York and then the development of it through the land company and his political offices. So I hope you enjoyed this edition of the Artifact video series. If you have missed any in the past, please go back and check them out. They're all on our YouTube channel, Holland Land Office Museum. And we're going to keep doing those as we go into 2021, as this is the last for 2020. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you continue on with us in the new year.